Good afternoon and welcome to the December 16th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. City Council meeting. At this time, we will have Pledge of Allegiance and invocation by our Councilman Lawrence. Almost called him an officer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we humbly come before the throne, Father, and Lord, we ask that you just rule and reign over this city, Father, over not only the government, Father, but everybody that lives here, Father. Lord, we ask that you be with those and you would guide and protect every citizen of this city and county, Father. Lord, we give thanks, Father, that you gave your only begotten Son to us so we can celebrate this season and know that, Father, with you we can do all things. So, Lord, we ask right now, Father, for wisdom to guide this city and this council. And, Lord, we speak health and well-being over the surrounding area, Father. And, Lord, we ask that you just give us this day everything of which we need to make you happy. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And at this time, any questions or comments from any citizens? I see none. So we're going to move on to actually number 14 in our items to be considered. Do that real quick. Consider and take appropriate action to approve an agreement for the use of opioid settlement funds to support transportation services administered by Aspire, a Mindful Place. Mr. Spradling.
So, as the council's probably remember, some more than others, over the last several years, we've signed on to a couple of statewide settlements for that the states have sued the opioid manufacturers and distributors for. So that's been going into our opioid grant fund. Those funds are restricted for very kind of specific things. In that time period, I've heard some issues, a service shortage. It's not as, I mean, I guess it is a problem, but I'm not going to make it sound like it's horrible. But a lot of people that are in the drug court program sometimes have issues with transportation. And so I think, generally that's to be expected when they get into that cycle and money goes to things that it shouldn't be going to. One of the first things that goes is a vehicle. So when you're trying to get them to court appointments and to work and other things like that, reliable transportation can be a problem. And so as we started getting some of this money, I started thinking about that, because my goal with this was to try to bring things to the council that this money could fill a gap. We don't know how long we're going to have this, so we don't want to necessarily commit to like operating costs and then all of a sudden it go away. So we're looking for things that could come with that. So during that time, I've Councilman Lawrence. I'm looking at Pete and Bob's right here.
Like I'd sing.
Well,
Y'all look just
you can't give me too much after solid waste and some of that stuff. But he'd sent Rico with me, and we had talked about some things. Rico volunteers with the Aspire and volunteers with the drug court program, and so I kind of outlaid some of the things that that the money could be used for, and what my idea was, and the easiest way might be to just have the city purchase a car and take care of the maintenance, buy the fuel, as long as the car is used to support the drug rehab programs. And so Rico got back, I believe, to Judge Mosley and Aspire and all of that. And so then we kind of had a meeting and talked about it, and Aspire's agreed to kind of be the point person with that. And so if the council's agreeable with this, the way that the agreement would work is the city would provide a vehicle. Likely we'll go ahead and provide one of the Equinoxes that we have on the lot so that they can get it sooner rather than later. And then we'll backfill with a new vehicle with that. But that'll also give us the ability to rotate them newer vehicles, as long as the program continues. There's about $49,000 in the opioid grant fund right now. a new vehicle. We're looking at replacing the Equinox with a Colorado. Those are about 38,000. So that still leaves us $10,000 this year for fuel and maintenance. Roughly right now, all of the settlements are generating about $6,000 a year. We have 2 new ones that we've signed on to in the last couple of months that will get a bigger upfront deposit, which we still haven't got yet. But that will then add a little bit more. So then we'll be looking at like $7,500 a year. So I think, that's generally a pretty good amount of gas. From what I understand, we've got plenty of volunteers and plenty of drivers. It's been the reliable vehicle that's the problem. But I don't know if you want to say something, or if the judge wants to say anything, or if you think I've done it justice, or.
And our partnership with Aspire is with Rico is our peer support specialist on our team. So he's our peer support specialist for all of our drug court people, but Rico is also a peer support specialist for many other people out in this community who will not only will be a drug court, a big boon for drug court, it's a big boon for the city of Borger and those that are in substance abuse recovery, even outside of drug court, will take that opportunity. Right now, our problem, of course, with drug court is that you have people that don't have driver's licenses. If they do have driver's licenses, they don't have a car. Sometimes they have a car, no driver's licenses, and Chief Davis ends up picking them up because of no driver's license, which adds to their problems. And driver's licenses are a big issue because by the time you get behind on that, there's fines, fees, and all these they hit you with. It's difficult to find reliable transportation and do it legally. And so one of our biggest things with Rico is the ability for him to drive somebody to Plainview, to our rehab facility down there. It is always best when we get people into our drug court program to immediately grab them, say hello, and then say goodbye, because you're getting in the car with Rico to go to Plainview for 30 days. Because the worst thing you can do is invite them into drug court, put them back out on these streets, and then hope they come back the next week and haven't used. Not a good plan. So Rico is invaluable to us on that transportation aspect, to be able to get them in a car, get them to Plainview, get them back. He drives people to work. He drives people to work at 4 in the morning to Amarillo. And he's a critical part of our team, but a critical part of that is the ability to transport people to where they need to go. And so our partnership with Aspire allows us to do that, not only for our drug court people, but for others out in this community as well. And so it is highly valuable to us to have that source of transportation. And we appreciate you all considering that, and would appreciate you supporting that as a critical component of our drug court program. So thank you.
Rico's definitely really good. He did indicate that sometimes he wished his car was slightly more reliable.
Yeah, he has to use his own car right now, and so
And so I think this will definitely handle that. And like I said, Julie and I've sent Julie we pretty much worked out all this. So, they'll log everything because, we'll have to keep documentation to make sure that the use is related to the approved uses in the opioid settlement. Since Aspire does do other things outside the scope of just drug abuse and all of that, we do have those lines driven, and then they'll be able to submit us a report, so y'all be able to see, how many clients the car's helping, how many miles it's driving, and stuff like that. Like I said, we will get a fuel card designated to them, which will be paid for out of the opioid grant fund, and then of course, we'll maintain it just like we already do through the service center and all of our other vehicles. For the most part, I do generally believe that this is a win-win. I think this is a good use for this. I think this fund can keep supporting that vehicle for an extended period of time and maybe close that gap and help, increase the success rate, just a little bit for the drug court program. So like I said, I do think it's one of the better uses that we can use for that money instead of just keeping it there sitting in the bank. But I'm sure the judge, Julie, or I, or if you got any other questions.
I agree. I love this program. This is a great idea. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agreement for the use of opioid settlement funds between the city of Borger and Aspire A Mindful Place, and authorize the mayor and mayor pro temp to execute this agreement.
I second.
All in favor?
I think I've been in on some of these meetings. I don't want anybody to think, but I am for it anyhow.
But it did pass, so yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thanks, guys. Alrighty, we will move back to, I'll just say item 5, the city manager's monthly report. Mr. Spradling.
So, you got the financials, in your packet. Everything's still pretty much about on target with the 5-year averages. Nothing, super unusual at this time of the year. I will say that our December sales tax allocation was up 17% over last year. So we're now 1.5% over last year to date. So, we did kind of budget a little bit more, thinking that our sales tax would be a little high with the turnarounds going on. The December payment is for October collections. And so there's still November collections, which when the turnaround was kind of starting to slow down a little bit, and then hopefully we'll have a strong Christmas. So sales tax right now is still kind of trending positive, kind of the way that we had. Hotel occupancy tax is still trending positive. We're still up about 19% over this period last year, but there again, with the turnaround going in place, we should start seeing that down. So some of our projects, we did get the screw pump project complete out at the wastewater treatment plant. So Councilman Lawrence is glad we don't have to talk about that anymore.
Amen.
So they are back working. There was one more payment in our bills this last month for the last of the pump rental. We had been renting a pump to bypass those screws until they were replaced. So that is in place. Actually, overall, that went really well. There was a little bit of unknown going in. We had planned on regrouting and just enhancing the cinder block structure that those rest in. That went well, so we didn't have any issues there. They got all that repaired. They got the screw pumps in. Originally, we thought it might be early February before we got this done, so everything did come in a little quicker and got it done a little bit beforehand, so we're glad with that. Of course, like we talked about, well 13's already been drilled. We're just waiting. It's going to be a couple months again before the DCQ gives us our final water permit to actually produce water and use water from it. Of course, the winters are generally a good time for that to happen. We are still using the old well 13 for just a little bit. They do allow that until we get switched over. So, and then again, stroke, we're going through some of the early stages of the Bulldog Loop Transportation Alternative Grant. So Strope's actually on a conference call with our architect and TxDOT right now. So they're wanting to get that timeline kind of figured out early, because like I said, this is a project for the next TxDOT annual budget, which is the 27-28 budget. So it's still going to be a little ways out, but they want to make sure there aren't any delays in that, and TxDOT's helping as much as possible. So we're excited for that program, for that project too. We did get the first round of feedback on the hazard mitigation grant for the Double S wildfire, which was the one by the Carbon Black last year. That is the grant where we're putting the 3rd Street drainage program on. If you remember, we submitted that last year to a statewide grant, and we were selected as an alternate project. So the only time alternates get funded is if at the end of the round there's money left. And so that doesn't always happen. So since we had this other grant come up because of that fire, we have submitted it to that project. It's received its first kickback, which was they just needed a few little information. So we do expect that one to go through, and we do expect that one to be awarded. So that'll be about $980,000 of grant funding for what we anticipate being about a $1.3 million project. So that one is progressing. So we'll talk more about that in our strategic session, because we will have to budget for the match on that. But I'd a lot rather budget for a $400,000 match than the $1.3 or $1.4 million I thought we were going to have to come up and fund it. I know that if anybody's gone out towards the animal shelter or the wastewater plant, they know we were talking about that a little bit before the meeting. It is continuing to erode a little bit, but we are working through that project. I think a little bit of erosion is worth putting up with, possibly getting $980,000 in grant funding. So we haven't forgotten about that project, and one way or the other, it's going to get funded in the next budget. We just are moving forward with that. So that's kind of where we, other projects, the new skate park equipment is in and starting to be installed up at the skate park. We have already replaced the lighting up there with new LED lighting, and we are looking into some security cameras to go in up there when all that opens too. We might keep the park closed a little bit after it's in, just to get some other cleanup and little things done. The weather's not necessarily the best this time of year anyway, but we will have a ribbon cutting probably at some point in the spring when the weather's a little nicer. So I don't think any of us want to go out there and plan something this time of year when the weather could change.
Don't skate around it.
Yeah, and the equipment we bought is not suitable for ice skates. So, so as we go through our department activity for last month, so in finance, we have finally received final amounts for the Windy Deuce and Smokehouse Creek fires. So that's been 2 years ago. We're looking at receiving just a little under $50,000. That's the money that will offset the overtime salaries for the employees that weren't on the TIF response to supported those fires and some of our equipment. So that's finally there. We also have a little bit that's wrapping up on the Double S fire for submission. We've been working through that, so that's finally getting there. And of course, we are getting ready for our audit. The auditor will be here the first week of January to do his final field work for our audit. We are still on track and on schedule to have the audit presented during the second meeting in March, which is within the 6-month period for the first time in a long time. So we're going to be glad to see that kind of come in on time. So I know finance has been doing a lot of work to kind of close out the year and get all that done. It's been a little more problematic with the switch over and upgrade in software. So we've been having to kind of clean up some of those things that have come in. So in emergency management, they've had a pretty busy last month. So the Project Shield sponsorship letters have gone out for this year. If you recall, that's our little fire education program that we do now instead of doing it in conjunction with the one that we were doing with where you could only buy things from the set magazine. So now we take those donations straight into a restricted fund, and then we can kind of pick what that money goes to. So I think probably some of y'all saw the Facebook post that this last year it bought the stovetop suppression canisters. So they kind of look like a Furno table, like a Furno fuel, but they go upside down. They've got the heat fuel, and so they put them in all the government housing apartments over on Tejas. So if you've got a stovetop fire, it busts first and put the powder onto the fire so that the elderly don't have to try to get an extinguisher or get something like that. A year before that, they did bicycle helmets for all of the elementary school kids, and so that's been, I think, a pretty good project for us and being able to have a little more local control over what we use that funding for. They're also getting ready, actually just did an active shooter training again, and Pender participated as a trainer in that. And they're getting ready for March. One thing that Deidre's talked about and we've mentioned before is that ripple effect, which is the distracted drunk driving demonstration that'll go on for the junior and senior class. So they'll rig up, they'll mock a fake accident and do all of that stuff. So that's coming up with the school district in March. Also still some early planning for the health fair coming back in April. And they also did finally get a arson case submitted and got an indictment on a wildfire arson from 2 years ago. So working through some of that. So I'll just leave that like there. IT has been busy issuing ID cards. You probably see some of us wearing them around a little bit. This is the first part of our two-factor authentication system for the computers. So we'll eventually use those to help log in to the computers, making them secure. They'll begin transitioning PD and dispatch to the two-factor authentication first. That has to do with their CGIS requirements. So that's coming. Y'all don't normally access city networks, so lucky for y'all don't get any more complications than what you've already got. IT is also getting ready to start supporting the city of Fritch with the IT agreement we signed last month. That actually officially starts the 18th of this month, so that'll be next week. We've also got the city hall servers ordered. That was in this year's budget, so we'll be updating and switching those over. Dispatch has been working on kind of redoing how we handle wildfire dispatch just a little bit, mainly that for a hotspot detection now that we have access to XL's fire detection cameras. And with the future, that grant is still, it's been awarded. We're just in kind of the final funding stages to add our own wildfire detection. So we're working on, kind of dispatching that a little differently until we kind of get a good feel on how. We don't want to send an entire wildfire response to every hotspot alert that the cameras pick up until we kind of get maybe some confidence or see what's going on. Now, there will be, when you get an alert, the dispatchers can see the camera. So, there's a difference between that alert coming in and them seeing a big column of smoke. Yeah, they get that alert and see a big column of smoke, they're going to dispatch it as a wildfire. But if they get that alert and they look at the camera and they don't see anything, then they'll dispatch a little differently just so that we can still get eyes on it, but make sure we're not sending everything someplace that it's not. They're also getting ready to test some critical software. So we're going to start, this is a applicant testing software. dispatch has had a little bit of trouble in hiring and retaining some employees, mainly because dispatch, there are definite some skills required for that job. It's not just personality, and you sometimes the best way to find out is just to get them in there and see if they can do it. And because of that, we've had some people that just haven't been able to adapt or haven't had those skills to do that. So we're hoping that this critical software will let us get a little bit of judgment of some skills that are needed by dispatchers, so that we have a kind of reduce that turnover over there. Because our turnover for the most part in dispatch it's just been those same entry level positions. It's not, we've got some pretty good longevity in keeping people. It's just making sure that we get somebody in there that can actually adapt and do the job. And it is a very unique job. I mean, I think it can be very rewarding, and it's very definitely a community benefit, but it's not just because you've got a good personality doesn't mean that you can do that. So like a lot of the other things that we interview for a lot of other jobs, that just doesn't work in dispatch. So they're working on that, and hopefully that will be showing a little bit better improvement in this round of dispatch applicants that we have. As part of some of Sydney's dispatch training, each dispatcher is allowed to work on a passion project. So last month, Whitney Schultz's passion project got completed. She did a donation for Aiden's Closet up at the hospital and got a bunch of clothes and things raised for that. And so we're excited to see the dispatchers helping the community in other ways as well. Also, emergency management kind of helped coordinate all the public safety departments and organizing and sending out the Salvation Army angel trees and silver angel gifts. You might have seen that on Facebook. So that was a kind of a good outreach for them. We're also starting to work with TxDOT on our burn plan reviews for the next 207 and 152 right-of-way burn, trying to make sure that we keep that moving forward. We already mentioned the grant application for the 3rd Street Drainage Project through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Project. We also did get our TMAT MOU. That was the mutual aid agreement we approved at the last council meeting. It's been submitted and accepted by the state, so we're back good to go with that. Also been reworking a little bit of the radio system. We added a new consolette to the radio tower for the V21, which is one of the simplex mutual aid channels. That's greatly increased the range in which dispatch can hear and interact with the people, the responding agencies on the mutual aid frequency that's not part of the repeater system. So trying to get ready get ready for that wildfire season that, we're kind of getting into that winter wildfire season. So trying to make sure we're ready and increasing our public outreach. You have seen some more social media and print media outreach for the Firewise mitigation efforts as we get into that too. So that's, making sure that people know, how to keep their trees trimmed and clean up their properties and all of that. We have sent out notice for the new 7 Mile burn. Well, I shouldn't say new, but this year's burn of the 7 Mile burn. So just as soon as we get weather and people lined out to do that, we'll be doing that. But keep in mind that, there is relative humidity standards, wind standards, personnel standards, temperature standards. So, it does take some time. We've given everybody a window, but now we have to wait for everything weather-wise to line up for that. But that is coming up. OEMs also start working with Fritch ISD to get their things implemented into the hazard mitigation plan. So we are trying to reach out and get the ISDs in the hazard mitigation plan. That will open them up to those hazard mitigation grants as well for like hail-resistant roofing and some other projects like that if we ever get hazard mitigation grants in the county again. So we are trying to get, but you can own a hazard mitigation grant will only fund a mitigation effort that is in the county's mitigation plan. So that's, we put the 3rd Street flood in there. We've put the fire detection camera systems in there previously. We've put generators in there previously. So now we're just trying to get some more projects from other government entities in the county to make sure that they have access to that same pool in case something. And we can still continue to work with Texas Forest Service as they're preparing the airport for the new air base for fire suppression aircraft. So that's going pretty well. I do think we've talked to them. We're likely going to give them some space at City Hall until they get everything worked out there. So we'll let them, they'll bring their own furniture and stuff, but we'll give them an extra office downstairs so that we can get them here a little closer. So
are they going to be like every day? Here every day? Do you know?
It's going to start out seasonally in high dangers. Their goal, they are really pushing to have a ground base here as well.
Okay.
And so when that happens, I think you'll see more permanent.
Okay.
And they are talking about this location for one of the, the Forest Service did get authorized in the budget to buy their own aircraft. And so it is likely that we'll have one of their aircraft here. At that point, it might be more permanent. Now, I think what they're looking at on a more permanent basis right now is 2 to 4 people. But if the ground base comes, you'll get a lot more with that. Right. And, we've been pretty good, at trying to, we're very well situated to a lot of the wildfires that end up being really large, just because half the times they do get really large because of the terrain and the Canadian river breaks and all of that. So we are a lot of times much more better situated, because once they get east of us, they're generally gone. They're gone until they're through Roberts and Wheeler County. So if you're wanting to stop a lot of those big ones, it's important to get to them quicker, and we're a lot more centrally located to those big wildfires than, say, even their Randall County at the Randall County Fire Station, where they've got a lot of resources, and especially in Childress. So, as you in the Childress area, those generally kind of stay pretty small. They can have wildfires, but the land down there is pretty flat, so you don't have access issues. And so that's a lot of times what drives a lot of it up here is just being able to get access to the fire. If you can't get to it, you can't do anything about it. So we are looking to see how that comes up. So in plan development, we have been focusing a lot more on alley cleanup now that the winter is behind us. They've already cleaned 236 blocks of alley this year, removing 8.44 tons of debris. So, we got a little bit of news traction on that, the illegal dumping by the dumpster. I will remind people that you do not, and I know a lot of people get upset. Well, I put it beside the dumpster. I don't know why the trash truck didn't get out and pick it up. There are 4,200 dumpsters in this town. If the trash truck driver stopped and got out of his truck every time something was beside a dumpster, you would never get all of the dumpsters empty. And then instead of you being upset that we didn't pick up the oversized waste, you'd be upset that your dumpster was always full. Oversized and excess waste is not supposed to be put by the dumpster. You can call and schedule a pickup for it. It's easier for us to get it if it's at the front curb anyway. We talk about this a lot. We have the self-help bulk refuge program. We will come set the trailer for you. You throw it in the trailer. We will haul it off. You can take it to the transfer station. Every resident of Borger gets an extra 1,000 pounds per month. That's an extra 12,000 pounds or 6 tons per person per year if you would just take it to the transfer station. Metal is free. If you take it to the transfer station, they do not charge you for that. There is a metal pile. You can just take it and drop it off. Limbs, if you separate those and take them to the limb pile, it is free. No charge. So we have a whole lot of things, and it amazes me, like that, the waste that was dumped in Keeler by that dumpster, someone hauled it there.
Yeah.
If it was already on a trailer or in a truck, why did you not just haul it to the transfer station?
Some people still, like I said, I ran into a guy. He was taking it out by the football field, by the dumpsters out there, and I asked him, take it to the transfer station. He said, I don't want to get charged. I said, you live in the city limits of Borg? I said, come on, I'll take you over there. And we went unloading. And, they keep saying they don't know, but I don't know how much more information we can put out there to get them to understand. If you're not sure, just call and check.
Well, and we try every way we can, and the council authorized a new position in this budget year. Actually, he's sitting right out there is Scott, who's going to be the new media specialist. So we're going to have all sorts of videos and educational new ways of telling you how to do these things that aren't that hard. People generally will go to more effort trying to illegally dispose of it or dumping than they would actually just do if they would do it right. The bulk help trailer, free. 1,000 pounds at the transfer station, free. Like I said, that's 6 tons a year per person. We only picked up 8.4 tons. So in a given year, 2 people could have disposed of that amount of trash free without any extra charge if they just slowly taken it to the transfer station. but I just kind of bring that up. I mean, we are trying, I mean, there's, and I know that this is my broken record, but you know, everything we do is in partnership. We can't expect the residents to do everything, but the residents can't expect us to do everything either. You know, it takes both of us. And so they are at least trying to get caught up in the winter as much as they can. They did complete the demolition of the house on Thompson Street and are getting ready for the next one after the first of the year. I'm not 100% sure what address that one's going to be, but they are working through all of that. And of course, P&D and several of our departments, I did allow departments to adopt an angel from the angel tree this year. And so some departments have contributed to that. So that's it. So in the fire department, they participated in the Toys for Tot drive at the Walmart, the Christmas parade. Emerald Fire Department came over and did a WPU class, and they took an air monitoring class in conjunction with Phillips 66. And they've also been helping with the Salvation Army. Captain Williams earned his Fire Officer 2 certification, and you might have seen on their Facebook both Assistant Chief Hall and EMS Coordinator Jeff Steeg graduated from the Certified Public Manager class. So they join, I believe we now have 8 certified public managers in our organization. We've got at least 2 more starting the next cohort. So I'm excited to see those. The CPM program is really good because so many of us come up in the silo of the little department that we have. And that CPM program a lot of times can help open your eyes to see all the different operations. And it really gives you a much bigger picture, and I think helps most executives be more effective. We were again this year ranked 2nd in the nation by the Fire Chiefs Association for mitigation hours and mitigation efforts. So they do that by total hours, and they don't factor in the size of your department. So it's just we are 2nd in the nation in total hours contributed to mitigation efforts. So that's right up there. Like, I mean, if Dallas Fire Department, who has like 4,000 firemen, if they reported all their hours, we did more than they did. We did more than almost the I don't remember which exactly department it was, but the number 1 was out of California. And so, you know, I do think that is really important, just to kind of, that's 2 years in a row. We've been 2nd in the nation for those mitigation efforts. And so I know that in 2024, we saw the importance of that, but it's necessary to keep reminding everybody of that because we don't want to become lax in any of those efforts. It took almost 20 years for those efforts to pay off in 2024. And I know sometimes people, why are you doing that? You know, nothing's ever happened. And you say that a lot until something does happen. But that $500,000 a year that's mostly recovered from other services that we do provides a significant amount of benefit over the tens of millions of dollars of loss that probably would have happened had that fire not been stopped at that mitigation burn. So we are excited to keep keeping recognized for that. As far as EMS, so we've gotten a little more update. So, you know, we've been kind of ambulance poor. So in 2026, so that might change. Right now, we're slated to get 1 ambulance in March, 1 ambulance in June, and 1 ambulance in September. That one that we're getting in September is technically slated for next budget year, so we might actually have to tell them, you know, well, we might amend the budget to go ahead and take it, even though it's not budgeted. Just after all the problem we've had, we'll find a way to make that happen. But I do think we are finally getting caught up on that. That's kind of the last major hold up on equipment citywide. In Public Works, so we appreciate the street department. They striped the dome parking lot. I don't know if you all noticed at the party that you could see your parking spaces a little better than you had been. They'll get back out there here shortly to do the fire lane. Is the last thing that they lack on that. We are also starting to already prep for our seal coat program next summer. You know, we've got to make sure that all the trees are trimmed in streets so that the equipment can get under them. You've got to remove the vegetation and the growth at if any, at the streets, and we crack seal those streets. So you're starting to see that. That award should come in the council late January or February. We have got a pretty good extensive block on that. That's pretty much all of Fairlanes 2, all of Philview. We're going to do Bulldog Boulevard this year. We're going to do St. John's Road this year. And then we're going to looking at the micro sealing 6th Street, and College. They're connecting West Wilson to Roosevelt that got seal coated last, or micro sealed last year. So we'll get, as we finalize that and get quotes, we'll get that to you. But there is quite a bit of prep work done for that with the number of streets that we're going to do. So we're excited to see that. So far, I do think the micro surfacing is holding up pretty good. So it hasn't been super cold, but it made kind of that first cold spell, and I haven't seen anything. So I think we'll try to keep doing some of that as a test, but kind of keep it to high traffic. Streets are important to be a little better. We already talked about the parks department kind of helping the skate park going up, and of course they did get all the Christmas decor hang up last year. So I know the community likes that. You don't really realize how much they like it until you don't put them up in one section, or they're burnt out in one section and they call and want you to know that they're burnt out. So definitely know that the public enjoys all the Christmas displays, and we're happy to do that. Also getting ready for a controlled burn at the limb pile, cleaning up, getting ready for the spring trim up season. In court and city secretary, of course, Stella and I helped to give out hot chocolate during the Christmas parade. That was good for the public. A little bit of a mess for me, but we won't go into my faults too bad on that.
15 gallons.
Well, yeah, we went through 15 gallon. Well, I'm not sure how much we handed out, because 2 or 3 gallons of that ended up on the floor outside of my office.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
It's because I was so mad I got really quiet. But when they handed me the 2nd gallon back to go make the 3rd 5-gallon batch, the spout was left open and I didn't notice it. So when I started pouring the powder and the chocolate in there, it was pouring out for a while before I realized. Yeah.
Got off.
Well, and of course, then we had the sewer backup and the cast iron that burst, and so then I was moving boxes out of the records room while I was being leaked on with whatever was coming out of that. It looked mostly clear, so I tried to tell myself that it was water. So, but I did get them moved, and I felt okay. But on my way home, I kind of started itching and burning, so I decided maybe I better get in the shower. But it was what do they joke about, that the last sentence in everybody's job descriptions and other duties as assigned. Guess I'm just sometimes can't bitch when I assign them to myself, though, can I?
Oh, you went above and beyond.
Or below, since it was in the basement. Court's having court today, so we had a jury trial today. We were originally scheduled for 6. They got some things settled in just 1, but if you drove by and saw a lot of cars this morning, that was for court. And then we will be getting ready to call the general election, the 2nd meeting in January. So that's coming up next month. In police, animal services, Candace and Jared both continued to complete a bunch of continuing education. They did participate in the Christmas parade. I'm not for sure. I know that Jared just completed animal cruelty training, and he might need to talk to Candace, because I'm not for sure if glow sticks around a dog's neck or not is cruel and unusual treatment.
Non-toxic.
Although the light up collar was generating quite a bit of attention in the parade. So hopefully she asked the animal if he wanted to participate first. And then we also did get our UV lights installed in the service truck. So that's part of our efforts to reduce disease spread and transfer. So we're some of the first in the area to have that. So we're excited to see that. The police department, of course, they got to participate in the Borger, Fritch, and Pampa Christmas parades. Motorcycles tend to go to all of them, so they, Pampa will come over here and help us, so we'll go over there and help them, and they kind of make the rounds. Sergeant Ginter is went down to the alert symposium to make sure he stays up to date on all the latest changes for that. And then, of course, like the fire department and emergency management, they help with Toys for Tot and the Salvation Army. And then our newest recruit is getting ready to start the police academy on the 12th of January. So we'll have another one in the police academy pretty soon, which means the other one's probably getting fairly close to being off FTO. On Main Street, so Nicole's been busy submitting our final documents and closeout for the First Street initiative, now that we're transitioning into the full Main Street. So we got that going. We did have our sip and shop over the weekend to kind of promote and get people out to some of the local businesses. Been helping with all the Christmas events. We're also finishing up the Dome annual report and the Main Street annual report. Those will be on a future agenda along with our annual PM report. That'll probably be the second meeting in January. We'll have those on is our goal. Public engagement continues work on our centennial book. So this is our last council meeting of the 99th year of the city of Borger. So our next meeting will be the first meeting in our 100th year. So we will definitely have a whole bunch of centennial stuff starting to show up and be incorporated into all of our events next year. So we're getting ready for that. Also continue to work with the Parks and Phillips on the Trees for Houston project, which is going to bring 500 public plus trees. So they're going to be able to give 500 trees away to the public here in Borger. Those are like 5-gallon bucket trees. So these are not seedlings. These are, legit trees. And then they'll be working with their volunteers to plant about 100 trees in all of our parks as well. So that'll be exciting coming up. Of course, we already talked about the ripple effect planning. That will actually be on March 4th. We'll get more information out as that comes. And then we have been doing a small website redesign, kind of updating the appearances of it and keeping up, make sure it stays up with the latest technologies. That will go live sometime in the first of the year as well. So that's what I have for the last month on the department's activities. I'll entertain any questions or anybody might have.
Good report.
One question on your sales tax. Does that include the Amazon?
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, so Amazon pays at the point of delivery. And so I do think that is some of our increase. Like I've said before, while we would always support, the physical sale here, a lot of things that people used to drive to Amarillo for, they're buying online and getting delivered here. So we do get the sales tax on that. So while we always want people to shop locally, if you can't shop locally, it is better to buy on Amazon than to go and buy it in Amarillo.
It saves them money too, because that way you don't have to take your wife or whatever to dinner, or you don't have the expense of the gasoline. And I've been told this.
Does that work for you?
I hope it will. My wife isn't watching as far as I know, so I should be safe.
I might get a text.
I'm not
about
gonna say
that.
anything.
Okay, anybody got anything else? All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Items 6 through 10. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion. We approve consent items 6 through 10.
Second.
All in favor? And it passes. All right, we will move on to items to be considered. Move on to 11, the Animal Regulations Ordinance, to consider and take appropriate action to approve on final reading Ordinance O-017-25, amending Chapter 2, Animal Control of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Borger, Texas, by updating and adding regulations regarding the outdoor feeding of feral animals and required microchipping of impounded animals upon release. Bradley?
So far, following our discussions last week, we talked about adding clearer exceptions for the trap, spay, and release programs. So this version does have those in there. The exception for the outdoor feeding states a match. Let me get over there to my red line version. Forgot how long this ordinance was.
It was.
Yeah, it's long, very long.
That's a big.
At least.
So the new exception for outdoor feeding is feeding conducted as part of a trap, spay / neuter, and release program or other animal management initiative operated by a non-profit organization, private individual, or other non-city entity, provided the program maintains written procedures and policies and has been reviewed and approved by resolution of the City Council. So that's what we talked about during the work session at the meeting last week for the feeding exception. And that same exception is in the trapping section. Trapping conducted as part of a trap, spay, neuter, and release program or other animal management initiative operated by a nonprofit organization, private individual, or other non-city entity, provided the program maintains written procedures and policies and has been reviewed and approved by resolution of the city council. So the exceptions, for the most part, mirror everybody, one for the feeding, one for the trap. Other than that, the other parts of it remain unchanged from the previous version. Other questions or?
Have anything?
All right.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve on final reading ordinance O-017-25, amending chapter 2 of the City of Borger Code of Ordinance relating to animal regulation.
Second.
All in favor? Passes. Move on to item 12. Consider and take appropriate action to approve an interlocal agreement with Clemens Stinnett Phillips Consolidated ISD for School Resource Officer Services. Chief Davis.
Good afternoon, Council. So I'm here today to visit with you about an agreement or a possible agreement with Clemens Stinnett Phillips CISD, which is the school district in Stinnett. I was approached by them a few months back, inquiring about the possibility of us taking over school resource officer services for them. First and foremost, I want to say that I believe that the fact that they even reached out to us is definitely a testimony to how well of a job our school resource officers are doing and how people notice that they're doing great work if we have other school districts that are interested in having us take over services for them as well. Stinnett does currently have a school resource officer. To meet the requirements of the legislature, the way their campus is set up, they're required to have one officer, which is what they have. The officer that is there has voiced his desire to come be employed by the city of Borger if we do take over the contract there and continue services there at the school, which I think would be phenomenal. He does a great job there. He's established there, and the kids all know him and love him. I know this is kind of strange due to the fact that Stinnett is outside of our jurisdiction. However, the way that this agreement is written does give the officer concurrent jurisdiction on school property. And then also in Texas, your peace officer commission, you can be commissioned in more than one entity at a time. And the officer there is going to maintain his commission with the city of Stinnett as well. So that's kind of a double commission there, if you will, but that will ensure that he has full jurisdictional authority to do everything he needs to do there. The outline of the agreement, it is set up similar to the agreement we have with the city of Borger. However, it's at an 85% cost on the Stinnett school as opposed to the 80% that Borger does, just due to them being outside of our area. It also includes of course, payment for the officer's salary and benefits. They're 85%, as well as a one-time purchase for a vehicle for him. Similar to like we did, I think 2 officers ago. Was it Garrett? Or was it
the 6th?
Okay, number 6.
At Spring Creek School, we made we had absorbed the vehicle purchases, but they'd added. We went from we had 3 for a long time, and then within like a 2-year period, we had 6. And so that was just too many to absorb the cars, and we're still kind of in that same boat. So this does include that car.
Which the cost there for the vehicle is listed on here at $37,900. That's for a Dodge Charger, which is what all of our SROs are currently driving. Due to the nature and the difference of their duties compared to what our patrol officers do, the Charger is a sufficient vehicle for them and seems to work well for the officers that we have in them. The agreement is set up into 2 separate payments on it's a longer basis with 2 payments in it. The reason is their contract actually ends at the end of December. So the new contract would begin in January, but we went ahead and set it up where it would go ahead and align with the rest of our SRO contracts. So that way we can do them all at the same time each year and review them at the same time each year.
Orders are July through June.
So we're just going to.
This 18-month would get them on the same
rotation.
And that it also allows the payment to be made over 2 of their fiscal years. Okay. And so that's why the payments are split like that. So one will hit this fiscal year, and then one will hit their next fiscal year.
So it'll work out on that aspect of it. That messed my train of thought up. I'm trying to remember what else I was going to visit on that. I still feel it's a benefit to the city. We get another officer for a lesser price, so that's one more officer to help with our different events that we have going on and different things here. While it is outside of our normal assigned area, it is still very close. It's within the county, and it's also where we can, if we need assistance from another officer, it gives us another body to be able to help with things.
In reality, as the largest law enforcement agency, if anything big happens, we're the one a lot of times carrying the bulk of the response. So having that knowledge and having that communication in a school environment, I do think is beneficial. Having an entire SRO department, it allows our other our other officers can fill in if that officer's on vacation, or vice versa. That officer can help cover down here depending on what's going on. So it does give some more flexibility. When we're talking about covering sporting events, those are paid by the school districts as overtime for those officers. So there's a more way to spread that out. Right now, Stanet's got one officer to try to cover all the sporting events, and that's just,
And that's a benefit for our officers too, because they have another opportunity for overtime if they, if they need the extra money or whatever. So that's good for them as well.
The jurisdiction in the contract technically gives it to all Borger PD officers. So any BPD officer will have jurisdiction on school district property. And so that's a similar, if you remember 2 years ago when we took over Spring Creek, we added that language because we needed that for Borger too, since the Spring Creek property is outside of the city limits. So it does just mirror that. In theory, they've also got our jurisdiction actually covers over to any city property. So, all the water property and stuff up around Stinnett too, we already have jurisdiction in.
How is the time going to be spent on each camp? Is it going to be, high school, half a day, middle school?
So the way that they have the Stinnett campus set up, it is all in one large campus now. The high school, the middle school, and then the elementary are actually all one campus. So the way that Officer Edwards does it now is he gets his steps in every day, but he pretty much just covers every campus, and he is there, in one part of that throughout the day. So, which, for an example, I'll tell you on the extra coverage with our school resource officers during the wildfires, whenever the Reamer fire, that day we were dealing with the Smokehouse Creek, we were dealing with the Windy Deuce, and then the Reamer fire actually came up also during that time period, and it came across and is at what initially burnt Scotts Acres, parts of Scotts Acres, and then tied in with the Smokehouse Creek fire. The officers that did the evacuations that day were your school resource officers from here in Borger and myself. We had everybody spread so thin that day. It was great to have those extra officers because they immediately came up there, helped with the evacuations, and got a ton of people out of there and warned them before the fast moving fire came through. So that's kind of an example of how we can utilize those other positions when we have them for emergencies such as that. That's a good example of how we've done that. But that is pretty much the outline of the contract. I'm happy to answer any questions or address any concerns that you may possibly have.
I guess I have a misunderstanding. Does he stay with the Stinnett Police Department, or does he move over to the Borger?
So the way that would work, sir, is he would become employed by the city of Borger as a Borger police officer. Okay, that will be his full-time job, his primary responsibilities with the city of Borger. Now, what they have is his dual commission is he maintains his commission through Stinnett as a part-time employee. So that makes it where he is still a peace officer for the city of Stinnett as well. We actually have we have a handful of our officers now that are dual commissioned with other entities like that. It gives the officers kind of a part-time job or a part-time opportunity to work at another place to make a little extra money. And that's kind of how it's going to maintain there with that is he'll still be a part-time employee for the city of Stinnett for purposes of his commission and such, but he'll be a full-time employee with the city of Borger.
So does that fill one of the openings in the Borger Police Department?
No, because this
Yes and no.
It would add a position.
It adds a position, but it also fills said position. Because we have an officer that's already willing to take that or wanting that position.
So it's technically neutral. Yeah. So signing the contract would create the need for another officer. If he comes over, he feels that additional, so it's a neutral impact.
Sure. He'd be getting insurance stuff too.
Right.
And that's where that's
our personnel our personnel policies, our police department policies, he's
yeah, he's an employee of the city of Borger. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Donnie.
And it's nothing against Danette. They are definitely trying to focus on their own selves right now. And so, there's no adverse feelings with all of that. Like I said, I did the reimbursement is slightly different. I knew that we couldn't quite give them the same deal we give BISD. And so that's why we did that different, so that it's not, because it is not quite apples to apples. It's similar, but not the same.
If he's replaced as an SRO officer, does he remain a policeman for the city of Borger?
Yes. And in theory, any of the SROs have all the opportunity to promote or change assignments or anything else within the police department.
I will say on that, we're very blessed with the group of school resource officers that we have. Each of them is, I think, an excellent fit at the campus that they find themselves at. If you go to any of the campuses, the officers there, they love the kids. Their age group that they're with, some of them, I don't know how they do it every day, but they do. That they fit in great with the campus. So it's nice to be able to have those officers in the position where A, they want to be, but B, where it's honestly where they're best served. And I think Officer Edwards in Stinnett is no different. He is vested there. He's been the school resource officer for a long time and does an excellent job for the school. So it would be another good fit for our SRO program, I believe.
When we realigned the salary, we added those level 2 positions, which gave an extra 7 steps, which allowed the SROs to have some more career progression without promoting or having to move out of the SRO position. That had been kind of one of the long-term complaints, is that an SRO was like a regular patrolman and you had your regular 5 steps and that was it. And if you wanted to promote, you had to promote to something other than SRO. So with the SROs now, as big as they are, we added an SRO sergeant when BISD added the 5th one. Like, look, if you're going to have that many, we need a sergeant that supervises that many. And we added that too. So you've got the SRO 1, SRO 2, SRO sergeant 1, SRO sergeant 2. So in theory, they have 4 progressions that they can move through, which is the same number of progressions a regular patrolman can move through without leaving the SRO designation. There is special skill for that. I mean, and there is different education, so it definitely behooves us to pay them a little bit more to keep them in that role longer. I mean, you develop the relationships with kids, and it takes a special person. I mean,
Definitely does that.
I am not that person.
I'm not either. I don't know, the littles, the elementary kids and everything, that they still love you at that age. When you get to the older kiddos, bless them.
But like Terry Don,
Well, and the thing is most of our SROs right now, if I tried to take them out of the school they were assigned to, the school district would probably hang me from the flagpole. So we're very blessed because we have good fits where the officers are. So.
And we have tried to, make those personnel policies around that to create some longevity, in there and make sure that they're happy. And that's worked out pretty well. I mean, and we talk a little bit about the sum in the budget, turnover costs way more than what paying people costs. So, we want to be mindful of that. Now, that doesn't mean we have unlimited ability to pay salary, but we can definitely add in a 2.5% step. That's nothing compared to what you run in overtime to fill a vacant position. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the interlocal agreement between the city of Borger and Clemens Stinnett Phillips Consolidated ISD for school resource officer services and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
Second.
Favor. And it passes. Thank you. Oh, we get to come back. All righty. Item 13, consider and take appropriate action on resolution R-020-25 authorizing a multiple use agreement between the city of Borger and the Texas Department of Transportation for the construction, use, and installation of the flock traffic cameras located within state right-of-ways. Chief Dix.
Hello again. So this is another MOU on our flock camera agreement that we started on, I want to say 2 years ago now. But it's with the flock traffic cameras that we are working on getting set up. We currently have 2 in use inside the city. This helps us pave the way to get the rest of our cameras put up in an agreement with TxDOT. There's been a process for this in Austin where they've had to go through a lot of different steps and a lot of different things to approve this to go on TxDOT right-of-ways and TxDOT equipment. We currently have 2 of the cameras set up at Roosevelt and Wilson. I do want to remind everybody that this is not a red light camera. This is not a speed camera. This is a camera that is used for criminal investigations, Amber Alerts, things such as that.
You'll notice, I think, in the news, if you the unfortunate issue with the senior couple out of Panhandle, that those cameras did let them know which direction they had gone.
That is how they found out where they went, was actually off the flock cameras, just like what we have here. So it's not something where it's just monitored every day to see who's driving where or how many times Ms. Perez goes to Walmart on a day, anything like that. It's not, we can't tell you, Mr. Lawrence, you were talking earlier about your wife maybe going out and spending money. We can't tell you how many times your wife's gone to Walmart. That's not what the purpose of them is. The purpose is a criminal investigation. I'll give you a fine example. If somebody, let's say, steals your vehicle, and we're trying to figure out where your vehicle's at, we can enter that license plate into the flock camera system, and they're all over the Panhandle, all over the state, and actually are working into other states now as well. So if they take off and go a certain direction, those flock hits will hit on that license plate. It reads that license plate and then tells us, hey, this vehicle that's stolen went this way. Furthermore, if a stolen vehicle from somewhere else, let's say, just happens to pass one of our cameras, the camera hits, it recognizes that it's a stolen vehicle that's entered in the system, and then it sends an alert to our officers. So hopefully helps us catch the vehicle or find the stolen vehicle. Also, like on an Amber Alert, if we put an Amber Alert or any of those alerts that you see like that, they go into the flock system. And if that vehicle crosses one of those cameras, it tells you what time they went through there and help us be able to locate them, hopefully for a good resolution. So I do believe we were able to do this through a grant, which has been phenomenal for us because it's made the cost very small. We have budgeted the cost for these again this year for our portion of the grant that we do pay to that. But almost, I won't say every entity, but most law enforcement entities in the Panhandle got in on this grant. So it's great because that expands our network that much further out. So if we're looking for a vehicle for whatever criminal investigation, it helps us know if they're somewhere else in the Panhandle or in the state. It gives us that knowledge. So it's a great tool for us to hopefully help us be able to remedy some investigations or to, come to a conclusion on things that we need to.
We are looking at using these possible same cameras at the skate park and at Huber Park. So that they can add into that network too, but then also give us alerts when they have some built in. You can use them to more than just how they're using them on the highways, to where we can get AI alerts that, hey, someone's spray painting.
So they have the ability to do facial recognition and that kind of stuff?
If you get the right camera.
The ones that we have on the
No, well, the ones that are going in the right of way are merely there to log license plates.
license plates and vehicles.
And so then all you really get to do is you query, and it'll tell you if that license plate passed any of them. So you for the most part have to know a license plate before you query.
So does it do it past tense as well as pretense?
Yes.
Yeah, so like if you enter that, it'll say, hey, it passed a week ago here. But you can refine that search too. Like if it just got stolen yesterday, you probably don't care what it was doing the day before. But then
It'll tell you a week later that, it did just come right.
Right.
And that's like with the unfortunate incident with the elderly couple in Panhandle. When they passed by those cameras, nobody knew that they were missing at that point. But then after the sheriff's office of Panhandle PD got to work on that, they entered it in the system. Well, then they got hits that, hey, it passed this direction going towards Tucumcari, which is ultimately where they were found. So it is a great tool for a lot of our investigations to kind of help us be able to locate those vehicles.
And this is technically the third time you've approved this MOU. We've got.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I was trying to remember. I want to say this is time number 3. Unfortunately, we just got to make sure we've got everything
This
the
one
way
is
that
in front
TxDOT
of you
needs it.
because TxDOT required the specific locations to be in the resolution that approves the accompanying MOU. The last resolution didn't have the locations specifically called out in the resolution.
And that's the
So we were going to add them into the MOU, and so that's the real reason you're back in front of this, is because we needed the specific locations in the resolution.
Third time's a charm.
we hope.
It is.
If not, I'll be back to see you in a few weeks and we'll do this all again. But hopefully that does what we need it to. So
Well, thank you.
appreciate y'all. Thank you.
All right, anybody got anything? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution R-020-25, authorizing a multiple use agreement between the city of Borger and the Texas Department of Transportation for the construction, use, and installation of the flock traffic cameras located within state right-of-way.
All in favor? It passes. We'll move on to item 15, which is consider and take appropriate action to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.